Hello, I'm Dr. Preston Parry. Welcome to First Friday Fertility. This may be one of the most important ones I ever do because while the June I always try to update the latest on IVF, I'm going to start this out with some of the legislation that may keep it so that you may not be able to legally have a baby. This is an incredibly important time and topic. Let's talk about the legislative issues that are going on. So, some are aware of this, others are not, but there is a move that relates to ways of banning abortion called personhood. And what it is doing effectively, and some would argue that it doesn't, but most of us in the field of infertility think it does, is that you are sacrificing infertility patients for the sake of more tightly restricting abortion. And this is what Oklahoma House Bill 1553 seems to have done. It defines life as beginning at the moment of fertilization. Now, for those of us, it seems a simple way of dividing things and a way of regulating issues. But at the same time, it means that, for example, we calculate it, or at least what I've seen, says it will change over 15,000 state laws. For instance, for my clinic, we'd have to register as a daycare because embryos would count as persons under the age of 3, and there would have to be staffing ratios and inspections related to daycares. There would be, if an embryologist drops a dish, she could be charged with negligent homicide and the rest of us charged as accessories. Now, when you're talking about things from fertilization at the 1-cell stage being a homicide, that sends chills down the spine of anyone who's in the field of infertility. And again, if you Google ASRM and Personhood, American Society of Reproductive Medicine and Personhood, you'll find that it talks about a bit more, and it talks about how certain IUDs could also be charged as, murder, or you see all kinds of other things that would go on with it. I don't want to get into the abortion debate. That's incredibly complex, and as someone, and I say this just on my own and not representing any organization or institution or anything like that, there's part of me where I so want children to be brought into this world. That is, my world is really bringing people in, helping children to be conceived. And that is a phenomenal thing, and I'm passionate about that. At the same time, I also see so much for complex legislation that's being passed that people don't fully realize the implications of it. For example, you could have a conception where the pregnancy does not have a brain. There is no way this child is going to be normal. And the mom, and this is under Mississippi law, that's about the trigger law that's about to be passed. This is under multiple other state laws. The woman would be required to bring it to term, even though the child could never have a brain because it does have a heartbeat. You can see pregnancies where the child has no kidneys, and as a result there's no amniotic fluid and the pregnancy does not develop, and therefore might be on a ventilator for a little bit before ultimately dying. That would be required to be brought to term. There are all kinds of things, and again, there are passionate people capable on both sides with very differing views on this. But I would say, and this is something that various people pointed out, there are a lot of legislators out there regulating someone's uterus when they can't even find their own wife's gynecologic anatomy. We have to be very careful to be aware of these reductionist, simple things that really relate to complex issues. And personally, and my own view on it is, and this is in all things, and it's not just on this front, we really need a society where doctors make medical decisions rather than legislators. And I'm pretty passionate about that, regardless of the topic. And so I think there are a lot of it's interesting, the Oklahoma law that passed is going to likely keep a lot of women from having fertility care by many people's estimates. But conversely, it's interesting that a very similar bill, it was 813 for the Louisiana House, it was defeated just recently. And it was interesting, while there were people pushing it, there was a pro-life organization in Louisiana that came out against it, saying it went too far. The governor came out against it, saying it went too far. The 5 pro-life legislators that were women in the House said that this went too far. I really do not, regardless of where you fall for abortion, I really think that it can be cruel and inappropriate to sacrifice women with infertility as part of the war on abortion. And again, people will say, well, the war, on abortion, there are all kinds of ways of looking at that are very complex, and I'm not denying that, but I still really passionately believe that women who want children and are working hard to have them, to bring healthy, loved children into this world, shouldn't be casualties of war in everything that's going on. And again, I think for any of you watching this, if you've gone through IVF and you have a child, I would appreciate, and I think many of us would love, to see you make a post saying, my child would not be here with some of the legislation that is being proposed and passed. We need to have voices to protect the children that are in this world, as well as give us opportunities to bring more into it. And that's a voice that's not being heard clearly or loudly enough in all of this.